to, um, oh, let me see. Hi, everybody. I'm trying a test to see if I can share my live stream that I'm streaming from my YouTube channel onto um, my Fab Fit Friday, and I think um, they can click the link and watch. So I think we'll be able to do this. So hopefully people will join me here. Um, Let me just say, um, I'm going to edit the post in my J Stern Designs group. I'm just going to say, click the link to join. Just trying something different. Oh, did it go? Edit. Click the link to join. Save. All right, so I'm hoping people will join me here. I don't understand why I can't. I'm going to say here, click link to join live stream. All right, I posted a comment, click link to join live stream. So let's see if anybody shows up. I'm trying to be able to live stream in two different places, and I'm just testing this, so I'm sorry. Today what I want to do is show you guys how to make a, how do I get rid of that? Oh, hi. Oh, people are joining. Hi, Mary. Hi, Jean. Welcome. I was feeling a little bit, I don't know, like I needed to make a banner for my front door because when I was coming home from checking on my parents in a social distancing manner, I drove by a house, and in front of the house there was a sign that said thank you, and it had a big red heart. And then there were individual signs. They were thanking the healthcare professionals, the truck drivers, the liquor store owners, the grocery store workers, um, all sorts of people. And I just was very touched by that. So I got home and I decided to design my thank you banner, which is right here. So I'm going to show you some ideas that for how you can make this really, a really quick, fun project. Hi, Janie. Welcome. We're streaming on my YouTube channel today. I'm trying to see if I can like hit two birds with one stone, um, and live stream here. Let me know what you think. If you think it's good, um, I don't know if I'll do it every week like this, but I just thought I would, give it an experiment. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this, and you can see from the edges of this, they're a little bit, you can see like little angled points. That's because when I cut this out and clipped to turn the edge under, I only clipped every 2 inches. So you can see basically where my clips are. There's a clip here, there's a clip here, there's a clip here, 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 here. I was trying to make it a fast, fun project. And then after I took the time to clip and turn the edges under, I actually covered the raw edges with a satin decorative stitch anyway. So if you'd like to make a heart, a simple heart, and not turn the edges under but use a decorative stitch to finish it, you can. I'm going to show you another way that you can create your heart and make it a more smooth shape so you don't have to use a satin stitch too. All right, so let's see. We have PG. Hi, PG. Hi, Lois. Hi, Brenda. Good morning. Hi, Jennifer from California. Oh, she says, thank you for doing this. You're very welcome. I'm trying to think of things to, perk people up and share a little love. And, I'm making these masks. I have a whole bunch. I had given away a pile. I have a bunch more. I still have to make a few more to get them for everyone who I know that needs them. So I'm making masks. I'm trying to do actual work for J Stern Designs in between all this stuff. So, but I think I think it's nice to make a, like a nice little Thank you. Now I did embroider this on my faff. This was just built-in lettering. Thank you. I don't know if you have to put thank you on it if you want to just do a simple heart project. Oh, Sandy Harris says, hi, it's been a long time. Oh, and you think it's a great idea. Well, wonderful. All right, well, let's dive into this. I figure instead of taking the hour plus time it took me to make this, I'm going to show you bits and pieces and give you some tips to make it an easy, fun project. So the first thing I'm going to show you is in the J. Stern Designs Fitting and Pattern Perfection group, there's actually a pattern piece for a heart that looks like this. This is my original heart. And I drew it in Illustrator and I uploaded it to our group. So if you need a heart shape, here it is. And you can, size it if you want to make a different one. I made a smaller one that I'm going to show you something else with in a minute. Jennifer says, we are watching this while helping teenage son make a mask for one of his remote classes. Your masks are great. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. Hi, Andrea. All right, so what I want to show you first is I'm going to show you an easy way to turn the edges of the applique heart under. And actually, I don't know if you know, but like I'm best friends with my friend Gail Yellen, and we talk on the phone at least once every day. And, I was showing her this project, and she's like, well, why don't you do it like the way I do my such and such that she does? And basically what she does, which is an excellent idea, is she takes her fabric and she puts fusible interfacing or stabilizers right sides together and she sews around it. So that's how I'm going to show you how to finish the edges of the heart live right now, instead of doing it the way I did it, because the way I did it by cutting it and fusing it. So here's my heart that I had prepped for today to show you, and I've already fused the interfacing on the wrong side. This one can be used, if you do it like this, you can turn the edges under, or you can leave them raw and then just decorative stitch over it. So those are choices. But now I'm going to show you how to make a finished edge that's super easy, and then you're not locked into having to use a satin stitch to finish the edge. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. Now, just to recap, I have, this is an iron-on stabilizer for embroidery, right sides together with my red fabric, and I drew the shape of the heart on the wrong side of the stabilizer. Mary's making hot cross buns. All right, so Mary's one of the members of J. Stern Designs Fitting and Pattern Perfection. I have to say that she posts a lot of yummy baking things, not necessarily in the group, but I'm friends with her on Facebook too, and she made homemade hamburger buns, and now she's making hot cross buns. I can almost smell them from the thing. I'm going to be making homemade pierogies tomorrow for Easter, and ham and some other things, and then I'm going to pack them up and bring them to my daughter who's stuck at her house at college. She's quarantining there with a friend or two. Like, I think she has 2 roommates that she's quarantining with, so I'm going to bring them Easter dinner there. All right, so let's start with this. I'm going to zoom the camera in so you can see a little better. All right, so basically all I'm going to do here is stitch around in a circle, and I'm starting on a straightaway, not on a corner. And I'm going to make my stitch length pretty small, like 2 millimeters or so. I'm just going to stitch around. When I get to my point, I'm going to put the needle down and I'm going to pivot. And actually, on a project like this, if you put your pins in far enough from the edge, you wouldn't have to even touch them or move them. Oops. All right, I slid off my line. I'm gonna back up a little bit here. Okay. All right, so I'm coming around. And I'm gonna again pivot here. Okay, Okay, so a tip for going around corners, I'm using pressure on this hand to create a pivot. So I'm actually holding it back here and it helps me pivot. See? All right. All right. Now I'm just going to overlap my start point. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to cut, but I'm not cutting on the line, obviously. I'm cutting about 1/4 inch away, or even 1/8 of an inch around the curve. I can get in really nice and close here. Okay. All right. All right, so here's my heart shape. Okay, and I'm just going to trim the point off of the point here. So I trim that. I'm going to take my pins out. And then I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm actually going to cut a slit in the stabilizer. So I'm pulling it away like this. I don't want to rip my stitching, which I think I just did. I did rip my stitching. All right, let me just fix this. I think I clipped into my stitching on my heart. Let me just redo that. All right, let me just go in there again. I think I cut it when I cut that point. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna pull these apart like this. And I'm just gonna make a slit here. And then I can go ahead and cut it a little bit bigger in each direction. And then I'm gonna turn it to the right side. I'm also gonna clip my threads. I'm hoping this paper stabilizer works. I think it will. So I'm just going to carefully turn it to the right side. Of course, I want to use my Point Perfect to get in there and smooth it out. So I'm just going to be really gentle because this paper stabilizer isn't like a fusible. Okay, so I'm just going to make my, run it along the edges. Okay, here I am at the point. See, I can get a nice point. Should be able to get a nice crisp point. See, I'm happy with that. See? And then this is cool because now the whole edge will be finished and all we'll have to do is press it down to finish all of these edges. If I was using a standard like interfacing that was woven, I could whip it around a little bit faster. I just don't want to tear this paper stabilizer. Okay. All right, so see how that's coming out nice? Now, if you've got a bunch up in here, see how that's kind of bunched up? That means it's not clipped enough, so you can just go in to where that is and just clip away a little bit more of that seam allowance. So I'm literally just gonna clip just a little bit more on each side. So I'm clipping it away just a little bit. I think that should do it. Okay. All right, so now we have this very nice heart. Let me just change my view a little bit. All right, so then the next step is to get your backing, and you can really make this any size, any size you want. And you can certainly make the, so I'm just going to cut this. I'm just going to cut this so I have a piece to work with here. I'll just cut it right here. I want to show you how to go around a corner when you're putting on binding. That's the other thing I want to show you today. All right, so I'm just going to cut it right there for now. All right, and I'm going to get my press cloth, and I'm going to stick this on here like this. And see, now that I've turned this, okay, it looks like this on this side, this on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press it, and we'll get a nice, crisp, round-shaped heart, which I think looks much nicer than the one that I took the time to turn the edges under, because I think the edges of the heart are smoother. And it actually is much quicker to do it this way. So that's a really quick way to finish edges. I just want to make sure. Okay, so that's how you make your heart. Now, of course, after you do that, you want to have it centered in the middle of your fabric. And an easy way to figure out the center is just to fold your fabric in half and actually into quarters. So I'm just going to very quickly quarter my fabric like that. And I'm just going to do a light crease, not a heavy, serious crease. All right, so there's my center. So then I'm going to line up the point and here with the line. So now I know that this is in the center. I'm just going to plop on a couple pins here. And the cool thing is I don't have to, when I made this version right here, I had to put the heart on the fabric first because I was using a satin stitch to sew it to the fabric. Because I've got a finished edge here, I'm just going to use a straight stitch. It'll be much quicker, and I can do it directly with the batting. So what I'm going to do is I've got that pinned. I'm just going to get a little piece of batting. Sorry, I should have had this ready to go. I'm just using scraps of cotton batting that I have. So I'm just going to put my batting on like this. I'm not going to worry about it being exactly the right shape right now. I'm just going to lop it off like this. Okay, and then I'm also going to just use a piece of white, and I think I'll just use the same white fabric here, and I'm just going to put it wrong side face up just so I can see. Sometimes if you cut these things out exactly the same size at the end, if there's any shifting, if you didn't do a good job either with an adhesive spray to keep the layers together or you're pinning, what can happen is it can shift. So I like to be able to see what's underneath. That's why I cut them a little bit bigger. Hi, Carol. All right, so I've got my heart, and I'm just going to pin all the layers together here. And certainly you can embroider thank you or any other message, you want if you have an embroidery machine. I'm just going to use, this dark red that I used the other day. And let me just thread that. And basically now, because those edges are finished, all I have to do is sew around. Now, if you want to use a satin decorative stitch to do this, you certainly can. You know, whatever you like, you can play with this. You can really spend all day working on this. It's a really fun project, you know, depending on how creative you want to be with it. All right, so this lets me get my little quilting on. I'm not a professional quilter, but I do like to do, you know, some quilty things. So this is kind of fun for me. So now what I'm going to do is, since I've got the finished edges, I'm just going to stitch right around. And I think I'll use a foot with a guide. This is my stitch in the ditch foot. I'm going to stick that on. That'll help me stay honest. So if I put the fabric underneath the presser foot so that the guide is sitting right on the edge of the heart like that, you see? Then I can just move my needle over a little bit and it'll make it really easy for me to stay honest with the edge. So I'm just going to move over a little bit. So I'm about a 1/16 of an inch away, let's say. So now I'm just going to stitch. Oh, and I'm going to make my stitch length bigger now. Let's go to 3. Okay. Okay, so when I get to my point, I'm going to kind of hand walk it till I think I'm at the point. It's a little tricky. And then I'm going to turn. If it starts to do something funny, you can lift it up and let it relax. Around the corner, I may need to just let it relax every little few stitches. Okay, I want my needle to stop in the down. Oh, not that. Nope. All right, now my needle will stop. Oh, hold on, I screwed it up here. I pushed the wrong button on my machine. All right, here we go. Okay, now my needle is stopping down. Curves are a little tricky because you want to stay on them. All right, so I'm going to stitch on the inside V until I see that I can see that I'm at the base of it. And then I'm going to just continue. All right, we're almost done. Oops, I think I fell off the edge. I almost fell off the edge right there. Let me just back up a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. Just going to overlap. Going to overlap my start point, and let's take a look at what I have. All right, so see, that looks nice. It's quick, it's easy, it's not fussy. Then what I did for my first one was, I just want to give you some quilting ideas here that are simple. What I did was I took my ruler and see. Let me just take these pins out. Okay. I use the side of the straight edge of the heart to start drawing grid lines to make sort of some grid quilting. And on that bigger heart, I did 3/4 of an inch. I think for this smaller heart, I'll do 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to draw 1/2 inch lines. And I'm not going to quilt all of this now. I don't want to take up all your time, but you know what you're going to do. You're just going to lengthen your stitch length and quilt, quilt this on. And then the other cool thing is, you can, because it's such a small project, you really don't have to do a lot to hold it down. You know, you do want to quilt it a little bit to keep the batting and the backing together, but it doesn't have to be like super fancy. Like, let's say you just wanted to go in one direction, you could, or if you wanted to do, you know, to make little diamonds, you could do this. So this is little 1/2 inch quiltings. All right, so there is, you know, how I would quilt it. You know, and the cool thing is the heart is already attached, so it's not going to go anywhere. So you'd end up with, you know, your quilt, your small diamonds in the heart. For the outer edge, you could do a bigger grid. I free motion quilted this because I love free motion quilting. It's one of my favorite things, and I rarely get to do it. So I played with just free motion quilting around the background here. But like, let's say you didn't want to do that. You could, let's go diagonal, point to point, like this, and like this. We could even probably just do the corners, and then maybe straight down the middle. That would be enough to hold it. You know, and I could find the middle of this. This is 9 inches, so like at 4.5 inches somewhere. Oh, actually, I have my little foldy marks, actually. All right, so see, that's a real simple way to quilt it. And for the quilting, I'm just going to use white, which I have right here. I'm just going to quilt it in a couple spaces, because another thing that I think some people have trouble with is doing a binding and doing a mitered corner. So I just want to show you how to do that, to make a nice mitered corner on your binding. So I'm just gonna, oops, let me just change my thread here. Okay. All right. I'm going to take this guide foot off now and just put my regular one back on, I think. All right. You know, I do want to take a minute and thank wish everybody either a happy Passover or a happy Easter. I know it's hard this year because we're not getting together with our whole family. We're gonna do a Zoom get together a little bit after church, which we're gonna watch online. So it's a little bit different this year, but I do want to wish everybody a happy Easter and happy Passover. All right. So now, let me go back to this. I'm going to make my stitch length bigger, and I'll just go, we're going to go out from the heart, because if you go in, you may end up with a bubble. So work from the center out, and I'm just going to do a little back tack here. Okay. And we'll just do, I'm just going to do a couple because I want to show you the binding. I think I could have my needle stop up now. Oops, my thread came unthreaded. Hi, Judy. Welcome. We're making a little heart for our front door if you're joining late. Okay. Oops. Honestly. I'm lucky I can still see the eye of the needle. I bent my needle threader. Next time I have it serviced, I'll have to have that fixed. Needle threaders are a wonderful thing. Okay. So I'm taking a couple stitches forward before I back tack so I don't back tack onto my heart. All right, so see how that's looking? Let me just do the diagonal ones and then I'll show you how to do binding around a corner. I don't know if any of you follow me on just regular Facebook. I posted a picture. I went hiking the other day and I'm getting very alarmed at the amount of garbage that people are leaving in the woods. It's getting really, really bad. Like, I'm literally going to bring a garbage bag with me the next time I hike and clean it up. But it's very disheartening that people are taking advantage of the beautiful woods and they're leaving their garbage everywhere. Oh, Bev is here and she's only a half an hour late. Yay, Bev, I'm glad you made it. Welcome. We're making a heart for our door, little heart banner. All right, let me just finish up 2 more things here and then I'll get to the next topic. Okay. Oops. All right, one more. All right, so I really think for the size of this one, just having the little bits, you know, just these little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 lines is plenty to keep it from flopping around. So I'm just going to clip these threads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to even up my edge and I want to show you how to do binding. Because some people are nervous about binding, especially if you're not a big quilter. All right, so let me just make this even. Okay. All right, so if any of you guys end up making a sign or a banner for your front door, please post it in the group because I'd love to see what you guys are coming up with. My friend Alma actually emailed me a picture of her thank you banner, and I'll post that in the group after I'm done so you can see. She actually did the letters. She appliqued the letters to spell out thank you with some little hearts. It's really a nice banner. So I'll post that after I'm done. I had baby blue in my bobbin from doing masks. No one will see that. All right, so there's what our back looks like. Okay. All right, so now what I'd like to do is, let me see. Mary said, just wear gloves when you pick up the mess on the trails. Mary, I totally will wear gloves because the thing that frightens me the most, worse than the dog poop bags, are all of the tissues that are all over the place. I mean, it's gross. And I really don't want to think about what they did with those tissues before they dropped them on the ground. So I will be wearing gloves. And I may even bring my little grabbers with me for things that are really gross. I don't know. But I'm going to do my part and clean up the trail that I use. Also, all right, before we get to the miter corner, I wanted to show you something else that I'm kind of excited about. I did poo-poo about the, all of the mess on the trail, but there's something else going on. out there. There's all sorts of little art installations, and I just want to show you some things, two things. The first thing I want to show you is, I should have had this queued up. A big thing when you're hiking is people will make these rock piles, and they can get pretty impressive looking. So I'm always looking out for the different rock piles, which I think are very, very cool. I've never actually come upon a group of people making rock piles, but you know, they just seem to mysteriously show up from one hike to the next. Now here's this thing that I'm really excited about. There's a stream, like I'm way out there, like probably halfway around my hike, and I hike for about an hour and 15 minutes, so a good 35-40 minutes from the parking lot there's a stream, and there's big rocks that go across the stream. Someone put this painted rock, can you see it? Now when I looked at it upside down like this, I thought it was a face mask. But if you turn it this way, it's actually a little turtle. So someone painted that little turtle and left it on the rock. So you know what I'm gonna do? I got inspired. I found this little white rock, and I have some red nail polish. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint a little heart on here. Let's just do it right now. I'm kind of excited about this. So when I go hiking tomorrow or the next day, I'll be picking up garbage, and I'll be leaving a little heart next to the little turtle. Let me just draw it first. Let me see if I can draw a heart on here. I'm not really, just drawing a little guideline here so I don't mess it up. Okay, so there's my little heart. Let me just scoot in so you can see. All right, so hopefully I can make it look like a heart and not just a blob. Let's see. Thought if I use nail polish that would be good. I don't have any red paint handy, so here, let's see. So I'm gonna leave this by the turtle, and I'll keep you updated if other people leave. I'm hoping I don't know, maybe I'll encourage someone else to leave something. All right, so see, there's a little heart. Oops. All right, I don't think I'm gonna get too fancy here. Just gonna darken it up a little bit. And we'll see what happens. All right, so there's my little heart, and I'm just gonna put it next to the turtle and see what happens. Because the turtle's been there. No one's taking the turtle. It's far enough away that like casual hikers and families don't go out that far. So it's really, I'm really on a trail for like serious hikers, mountain bikers, and people who like run their dogs like I do. So I'm gonna add this, put this next to the turtle. So I'll keep you posted if someone steals my heart or adds to it. We'll see. All right, so now back to our heart project. When you're working with a straight edge, you don't have to cut your binding. We're going to use binding to finish this edge. And a lot of times when you're working with binding, you cut it on the bias so it's stretchy. When you're working with a straight edge, like a quilt, you really don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to cut one strip here. I'm not going to bother worrying about whether or not I have enough for the whole thing. I just want to show you how to go around a corner today, I think. And when I stop and start, I'll show you what I did on my my other one. I'm gonna be cutting a 3-inch strip. So there's my edge. I'm gonna turn it this way so I can Okay, so I'm going to cut 3-inch strip here. And I'm also going to cut a strip that goes, that's almost the length of the top edge, almost. I'll show you. So let me just cut this to be 2 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold both of these strips in half. All right, let's see. Let me just get my pressing thing here. And I'm going to press this in half. This is going to make the hanger for you to hang your banner. So, ew, that might not be wide enough, actually. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make my strip of binding, I'm going to cut 1/2 inch off of it, so it's 2.5 inches. 3 inches is very generous, but I want both of these things to work together. So let me just cut a little bit off here. You'll see what I mean in a minute. All right, so then I'm going to fold this one in half too. I'm going to fold it in half. This way it's double. So I'm going to sew both the raw edges together. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so let me just show you in here what we're doing. In the back, you can see I have this hanger, and I actually put a just a chopstick in there to keep it from bending when it's folded. I mean, when it's hanging. And this is my binding, which you can see it's 3 inches is very generous, so it doesn't really need to be 3 inches. 2.5 will be fine. So what I'm going to do is, the first step is, I am just going to take this hanger and I'm just going to check it for length, and it'll be, I'm going to trim a little bit of it off. We don't need it to be quite that long. And what you can do is just turn your edges under. I'm not going to bother pressing them. I'm just going to turn the edge under like this. Let me just get my camera. And then I'm going to just top stitch those edges under to have a finished edge. Just do that over here. Okay. All right, so these are all tips you can use for really any of these kind of projects. Then what I'm going to do is cut off the tails. And I'm going to just put this right here, centered along my top edge like this. And I'm just going to sew it on so it doesn't move around. You want to make sure it's far enough away from the side edges that it's not going to get caught in the binding on the side. So just make sure it's, you know, short enough for that. And I'm just stitching like within the seam allowance here. All right, now what I want to do is show you how to go around a corner. We'll do the 2 top ones. To start and stop, what I did on this one was I started the edge that had, this is the selvage edge here, and I just laid that right sides together first, and then when I came around and finished, I just left it raw for this one, but then when it's turned, the salvage edge is right here and it's covering the raw edge of the other end. So that's how I started and stopped. And I overlap my start and stop about a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So that's how you start and stop. That's not a big deal. It's getting around and making a mitered corner. That's what I want to show you. Okay, so see how that looks like that? It's mitered on both sides. It's really, really easy, actually, when you see how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, I'm just going to show you. And what I'll do is, I can't use this because it's got the information on it, so I'm just going to cut that off. And I know this isn't long enough to go around, but again, I don't want to take up, you know, a lot of time if you don't need to know, you know, you don't need to see the whole thing. So I'm just going to leave a tail here on the side that I can finish it later. I just want to go around and have enough to go around and show you 2 corners. So we'll just start here. And I don't pin my, when I'm doing binding, I don't pin. So I am just going to use the side of my presser foot as a guide. And I would start at the very edge and sew that down, but I'm not going to do that because I want to be able to, oh yeah, I can actually. I can start right there because I don't need to do anything to that. So I'm just going to use my side of my presser foot as a guide, and I'm going to start stitching. Oops. And I'm going to stitch almost to the corner. Now the idea is when you get to your corner, I'm just going to draw this little, almost like a 45-degree angle from your corner. So going out 45 degrees. Because what you want to do is you want to stop sewing when you get, so you're about that far. So like about where that is. Then what you do is you lift it up, take it out a little bit. You're going to fold it on that 45 degree. Okay, and the goal is you're folding your binding at a 45-degree angle like that. This edge is parallel to the edge of your quilt. So this and this are parallel with each other. They're not like funky like that. It's, the fold is 45 degrees. This is straight, and then what you do is you fold it back on itself, and this fold lines up with the top edge of the quilt. So you've got this straight here. I'm going to turn it, and then I'm going to start on the very, very end. Did everybody see that? Let me know if you see that. And then you're just going to start stitching, and I back tack. So we're going to get around and we're going to do another one. See, basically you're stopping. Another way to think about it is, it's like you're stopping. If I draw the seam allowance kind of. Okay, so here's my seam allowance. You're stopping like right when the needle gets a seam allowance away from the edge. The edge is about here. There's about the edge. So you're stopping about that 1/4 inch from this edge here. That's how you know where to stop. So again, I'm going to stop. Lift it up. Fold it on the bias, or the 45 degree, like that. Okay. Fold it back on itself. Okay, that's how that looks. And then we're going to stitch. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'll finish the rest of that later, but what I want to show you is how to turn this now. All right, so, let's see. All right, let me just stop here. In Kansas City, a family put gnomes in their tiny house along a trail when no one was watching. I love stuff like that. A long time ago when I was hiking, someone put a stuffed bear up in a tree where you couldn't really reach it. You could if you wanted to, but whoever did that would change the bear's outfits for the seasons. And that bear, same stuffed bear, was there for well over a year. And I'd always look for it when I, was going down that way. So I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go in with the tip of my iron, and I'm just going to iron this binding away from the quilt right into the corner. I'll do this one too. Okay, so see what I'm doing is I'm just getting in there, ironing it flat. Then what you want to do is you pull it straight out like that, and it folds on itself. So along the top edge, you wrap it around and you stitch it in the ditch. I mean, you pin it in the ditch so you can stitch in the ditch. So I can put a pin here. And then when you fold this side over, it folds into a miter on both sides. Of course, this one's not coming out super neat. I think it's a thing where you only get 3 neat corners. Okay, so that's how that corner looks. Let's see if I can get this one to look a little bit nicer. Oh yeah, see, this one looks nicer. Okay, so I'm gonna pin before it. And if anyone else has any tips for, quilting and making mitered corners, they can absolutely chime in, and it will not hurt my feelings. This is not my specialty. I just wanted to give you some quick tips for, I'm shooting for not embarrassing here. Okay, see, that one looks much nicer. All right. Okay, so that's how you do the binding. And again, you would do all the corners like that. And you would just overlap it over here. So when you turned it, it would just be finished. Now, another tip, when you go to sew it now, instead of using a straight stitch, I am just going to use a meandering straight stitch. So it's also almost like an S stitch. It's a straight stitch, but it goes in an S shape. Okay, let me just see. Someone else has a comment here. Sandy says, I'm so glad you are demonstrating how to do mitered edges, because you can use that on so many different projects, but I haven't used it in a long time, and I'm enjoying watching this class. Oh, thank you so much. It really is a departure from my fitting and clothes construction stuff I normally do, so I was hoping that you guys wouldn't think this was like completely off the deep end, for just something to do that's sort of therapeutic. All right, so this is another thing that will save you if you're not a pro quilter, because you've pinned this on, and if you don't pin it exactly even, and like my pins are pretty even, and I think I would make it with a straight stitch, but just to keep the pain and suffering to a minimum, watch this stitch. I love this stitch. It stitches in a sort of an S, and I'm just lengthening it a little bit. All right, so watch what it does. So I'm stitching on the binding, off the binding, on the binding, off the binding, on the binding, off the binding. You know, and then as I come to my pin, this point's going to be a problem. This one did not come out fabulous, but the cool thing is that the S shape will keep it from poking out, and I'm just going to use a pair of clippers to keep that under there. All right, so when I get to the corner, I'm going to let it swing onto the miter itself, and then I'm going to pivot. Okay. Oh, that makes a lot of noise. I think it's all the accessories in the accessory tray. I will tell you, with the 3-inch strip of fabric, it was much easier to get the back miter to stay nice. Okay, so when the needle is swung over into the corner, that's when I pivot. I'm just going to stitch a little bit off this corner so I can show you, and then we'll look at the two corners. All right, I'm going to call that a day. Let's see. All right. All right, so see, that one came out pretty nice. It's not perfect, but it's pretty nice. That's not going to go anywhere. This one is a little bit of a disaster, and I might take a few hand stitches in there and just catch that. But from the right side, they look pretty nice. See? Put it up close, you can see. See how nice that looks? All right, and so then to hang it, you would just put a ribbon through here. And if it's not stiff enough, like mine was buckling, this larger one was buckling, so that's why I put the, you know, I put the chopstick in there to keep it from, you know, to keep it from buckling when it was hanging. And then I hung it on my front door like that. See? So that's my fun little project for today. Oh, Andrea said, or you need a new needle with that sound. That actually is a new needle. I think it was just going through. This fabric, I don't know if you can see it, but it actually has some metallic paint on it. It's got a little bit of a shine to it, so it might be, there's 4 or 5 layers. That's when I was going over the, you know, 6 layers of this shiny white fabric. I think it was a combination of the paint and the whatever, plus there's a lot of accessories in here. When it starts to jump a little bit, it makes it those accessories vibrate. But that's my little tutorial that I wanted to share with you today about making a, you know, a thank you sign. You know, I do have a friend who's a nurse, and she told me she drives around, you know, when she's driving home and to work, she actually notices that people have hearts hanging up in their, you know, either in their window or at their front door. So, you know, I thought, you know, I'm going to make one and hang it on my door just to let people know that, you know, I'm thankful for everything everyone is doing. And certainly I'm thankful that everyone who is making masks for people. My original idea was I was going to educate you and show you how to make masks, but I wasn't going to make masks myself, but that turned out not to happen. So I am making masks just like you guys now. I actually have one of my husband's friends is going to drop off some of his, I think they're Bucati men's dress shirts that are really fancy and high end, and he doesn't wear some of them anymore because he wanted some masks. And I told him that my boy fabric, I am down to tan. Ugh, this yucky tan for boy colors. So he told me he would bring me some of his fancy dress shirts that he doesn't wear anymore, and I'm going to make some masks out of that. So I am getting to near the end of my mask making. I will tell you that I do have in stock, if people are looking for cut through sew through elastic, I have plenty of that in stock, and I've been selling it and shipping it almost every day. So if anyone is looking for elastic to make masks and they can't find the 1/4 or 3/8 inch, you can get the cut through sew through elastic, and I have it on my website, and it's that's what I've been using. This is an example of all the the cut pieces I have left from all the masks I made. But anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe. I went to the grocery store and I wore my mask today. If Jane watches this later, you are right. The one thing I didn't add was a wire to put around the nose, and my glasses were pretty foggy. And I couldn't wait to get that mask off my face when I got to my car. So they're not really the most comfortable thing. And if you have glasses, your breath will steam up your glasses a little bit. But there are some, I think, Andrea, you put the thing with the wire in our group. That was a good idea. And then I think Mary commented that, all of the things that you can add to a mask to improve it increases the time it takes to sew it. And, that is an issue too. If you're trying to make 100 masks, then, it's hard to add every bell and whistle to a mask, or if you're taking the time to do it. So you kind of have to decide what's important, when you're making your mask. I think the most important thing is that it covers your mouth and your nose, and you can put a paper towel or some sort of safe filter in there to make it extra safe, and to just stay home as much as you can. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to work on some online class things for you guys, and I'm just, I'm hunkering down. Yes. Oh, Mary says, I hope you wash the mask as soon as you get home. Yes, I have two. I have one that goes right into the wash, and then I'll have the next one in case I need to go out again. You definitely want to wash your mask. You don't want to touch the outside of the mask. So definitely pull out that paper towel and put it right in the wash. That's a very good tip. All right, so I think I've covered what I want to cover. If you guys are making masks, post your pictures in the group. It's fun to see, people's fabric choices and how they ended up coming out. If you're making a heart for your front door, post pictures of that. I think that's inspiring for everyone. And if there's anyone listening to this, if you're out there, working for us, or if you're a truck driver, a sanitation worker, if you're a healthcare professional, we really appreciate you and we really thank you. I mean, I really appreciate everything everybody's doing to pull us together in this time. So thank you if you're watching, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next week for Fab Fit Friday. I may do it like this. This seemed to work nice, and then of course I've got it on my YouTube. The benefit of it being on the YouTube channel is if you want to download it, you can. Facebook Live's in the group. I don't think they're downloadable, but when they're on YouTube, you can download it. So if you want to download it and watch it offline, you can. So that's the benefit of having it on YouTube. But in any case, I hope everybody stays safe. I will see you next week for Fab Fit Friday. And next week's Fab Fit Friday will be pants related, because I have some more adjustments I want to show you. I did some more fitting with Gail, actually, and I have some cool things to show you to get rid of extra fabric on the back leg. So next week will be a pants fitting day. All right, well, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay home, and I'll see you next week.